Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, U.S. President Donald Trump says approximately 100% tariffs will be imposed on chips and semiconductors. This comes hours before U.S. imposed tariffs take effect. Philippine goods are set to get 19% tariffs. President Marcos' suspension of rice imports may help local farmers, but risks pushing up retail prices, pressuring inflation. And the Philippine Statistics Authority revises growth figures in several sectors, but maintains first quarter GDP at 5.4% ahead of its release of second quarter GDP in the next hour. We get insights on these developments from George Barcelon, chairman of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Robert Dan Roses, group economist at SM Investments Corp. A farmers group is urging the government to raise rice import tariffs to 35%. This comes after President Bongbong Marcos ordered a 60-day suspension on all rice importations starting September 1st. Presidential Communications Secretary Dave Gomez says the directive was made after consultations with cabinet members in India and upon the recommendation of Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel. Gomez said the move aims to protect local farmers struggling with low palay prices during this harvest season. But for some farmers groups, a temporary pause is not enough. Samahan ng Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG Chairman Rosendo So says raising the tariffs would be a more effective way to help farmers.
Dapat itaas yung taripa sa 35% para at least tumaas yung presyo ng palay natin. Mas effective kung itaas nila yung taripa kasi yung importation babagal kung ibalik sa 35% taripa. Yung 25% computation namin, ang palay magiging 15.50 or 16 pesos. Lugi pa rin kasi ang production cost, yung computation ng DA, kasama kaming nag-compute nung isang last week, no? Umabot ng 14.60 per kilo. So hindi kaya yung 25% na increase lang.
U.S. President Trump charges a new set of tariffs on imported chips and semiconductors and on India as new import taxes on U.S. trading partners is set to take effect today. Semiconductors exported to the U.S. will face a roughly 100% tariff, except for chips produced by companies that pledge to manufacture in America. The news is a sigh of relief for companies like Apple, whose chief executive Tim Cook visited the White House trumpeting a $100 billion investment commitment.
We'll be putting a tariff on of approximately 100% on chips and semiconductors. But if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge, even though you're building and you're not producing yet in terms of the big numbers of jobs and all of the things that you're building. If you're building, there will be no charge. So I just want everyone to know that. And I didn't even tell you that inside.
Jeff Tantiangco of PhilStocks Financial says this move could result in job losses since demand for semiconductors in the U.S. would dwindle. But AP Securities research head Alfred Garcia believes local exporters would be exempted since they already manufacture in the U.S. Meanwhile, Trump signs an executive order imposing an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods as New Delhi continues to import Russian oil. This brings India's total rate to 50%, among the steepest faced by any U.S. partner. The new tariff schedule takes effect this Thursday, 12:01 a.m. U.S. time. Joining us this morning is the chairman of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, George Barcelon. He is also president of Integrated Computer Systems, one of the Philippines' top IT solutions providers. Good to see you, George. Welcome to the program.
Cathy, good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so let's first tackle the president's 60-day suspension on rice imports. What is the position of the PCCI on this directive?
Personally, I have a bit of concern. recently we were just hit by a string of typhoons, and the flooding that has occurred in northern Luzon, and June, July are the planting season, and based on the past events, when you have a extreme flooding and typhoon, the harvest could be reduced by about 30 to 40%. So having that in mind, I mean, then president is banning the importation of rice. No, there might be a shortage, and at the same time, what I'm afraid of is that there might be some hoarder manipulator, wherein the price will be the scarcity of rice would happen and the price would go up. And one of the key issue with the about rice, it's a food commodity, and that's the one that's keeping our inflation rate low. Once you kick up the price of rice, the inflation definitely will go beyond 2 to 3%. I comment many times that the president has the wisdom to balance, the factors as far as cost of living to reduce the inflation to 2%. So with this is my concern that the inflation will not be mitigated, and this is going to fall difficult on the really the low income earner.
So the PCCI is concerned that there could be hoarding and prices of rice could go up.
Yes, go
What
up.
then are you
Go up.
intending to tell the president?
Well, given the chance that I'm airing our views through your program, I hope somebody picks it up. But definitely, we will be seeking an audience with Secretary Tiu Laurel, Kiko Tiu Laurel, to express what are the impact of limiting our importation. As a matter of fact, last night I was able to meet the new ambassador of Pakistan, and I was just telling her that if they can help in case there's a need of rice in our country, that they can because they have excess rice there and they can export. Now this ban, I don't know, it's going to take effect immediately or is it September? I didn't catch it earlier when you mentioned it.
It is September 1st, but then the stated intent really of the import ban is to support the rice farmers. So that's one side from the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
And the president is going to use the 60-day period to study whether to raise tariffs on imported rice next. Is the PCCI in favor of reinstating
We
35%
are.
tariffs on rice imports then?
So we have always been supportive of our magsasaka, and then for them to have, get good harvest and earn a good living. But when it comes to a basic commodity such as rice, you have to talk about productivity. If we can import rice cheaper for the hundreds of millions of Filipinos, I have nothing against the farmer. We only have about less than 1 million people in the farming. So you're talking about 100 million people that would be burdened by high price of rice. So there's a balance that must be achieved. Of course, in such a situation, we cannot make everybody happy, no. So it's up to the president to see how he would balance things out.
So would the chamber be urging the government then to consider flexible mechanisms such as buffer stock releases, targeted subsidies,
Yes,
or maybe even regional
yes,
adjustments?
yes, we will do that. When rice are imported, a part of the excise tax goes to help the farmer. Okay, and I remember in the past they were able to generate maybe 4 billion pesos to help the farmers. Now I'm not privy on how this funding is able to help them, but I guess with at least there's this mechanism wherein the rice importation helps balance things out with the local farmers.
What then is your advice to the food manufacturers, the retailers and traders during the 60-day window to ensure both compliance and consumer protection?
What I would advise, since the president announced this, for both parties, no, to really start communicating, okay, and seeing how we can strike a balance. Okay, I don't want to see a shortage of rice also, because definitely it's a marketplace, supply and demand. Once you have a shortage, people tend to hoard, or not even the rice trader, even consumer, they will tend to buy more than what they need. that's another way of hoarding. I mean, they would try to buy 3 months supply, and there would be scarcity of rice in the market. So that's what we have to avoid. We have to avoid the crisis that will happen on the prices of rice. We must be able to have a plan so that there's certainty that there's supply and the balance and the prices of the rice is affordable.
Well, speaking of another kind of tariff we cannot avoid, 19% tariffs on Philippine exports to the U.S. come effect from later tonight, barring any Trump order. Otherwise, it's also going to mean zero tariff concession on U.S. imports of soy, wheat, autos, and drugs. Apart from the fact that there could be 100% tariffs on chip imports to the U.S. How have you prepared the PCCI members for this new tariff order?
You know that 100% is a shocker, no? The semiconductors and electronics falls under the World Trade Organization Information Technology Agreement, wherein all our exports falling under this category is tariff-free, zero tax, no? But there are other specific products such as wire harness that's used for car manufacturing. It's the tariff rate for that is 25%, but it cuts across all the other countries, no, on that. So we have at least equal footing. We have one of the biggest wire harness, Yasaki Torres, and they're quite concerned about this. And then this surprise of 100%. Of course, President Trump has good intention of having manufacturers move to the U.S. Even their Apple that are being manufactured in India, okay, 90% of the components are still manufactured in China. They're only doing the end part of assembling and exporting them to the U.S., but 90%. And there are experts in this field who made a comment that for U.S. to be self-sufficient on all the components of an Apple computer, Apple cell phone, it will probably take 3-4 years. Now, I'm not an expert in that, no, but the supply chain of that is quite long, and it's quite a highly technical. There are about 100,000 components that goes into a cell phone. So, having said that, of course we would be hit hard because our trade with the U.S. is about 16 billion, but the majority part is electronic and semiconductors, which is about 40% of our exports. I mean, if they apply everything to the same rate to all the countries, so be it. It will just increase the inflation rate in U.S. But at least as far as competitors are concerned, we're all in equal footing. We can't do anything about it if that's their policy. But this tariff issue has been in a way getting murkier and murkier. I don't know how the U.S. citizen will take it, but apparently we just have to look for other markets. Okay, since U.S. only about 16%, majority is semiconductor, electronics, and garments, and also some fruits like a banana and pineapple. No? But they occupy only 16%. We still have 84% of the other export market. And I was just talking to Secretary Chris Roque the other day, and we sort of have the same thinking. Let's just gear up and look for other markets, European markets, or even the Chinese market. Why not? Since we're not getting a free hand with U.S.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, honestly, from the business sector, we were expecting a more favorable tariff rate from the U.S., considering that what we have given, we're all out in supporting U.S. in other aspects, and we thought that with that they would have given us consideration that the rate should be below other countries. We were, optimistic. We're very optimistic that we could get about 15%. So, but after the trip, ang kinaltas 1% lang eh. So we just have to live with it. Let's look for other market.
Okay.
I think to be honest, we're spending too much on this tariff
right.
issue.
Well, it's very well articulated. Thank you so much for making the time. George Barcelonas, I know you've got an event to go to, a PCCI. And the Senate has voted to archive the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte in deference to the Supreme Court's ruling declaring them unconstitutional. Senator Rodante Marcoleta moved to dismiss Duterte's impeachment, kicking off a 6-hour debate among senators arguing its implications. Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto tried to table the motion, saying the upper chamber must wait for the final decision of the court, but he failed. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva revised Marcoleta's motion, changing the word dismiss to archive, so the Senate can pull the articles out should the SC reverse its unanimous ruling. In the end, 19 senators voted for the archiving, including the Senate leadership and the so-called Duterte bloc. Senator Pia Cayetano, for instance, said yes, since the complaint was declared void ab initio or inexistent from the very beginning. 4 senators voted against archiving, including Senator Soto, who said the move is as good as declaring the complaint dead. Voting to table Marcoleta's motion, he said, and we quote, "May God have mercy on your decision." Senator Ping Lacson abstained from voting, saying, while he respects the SC's decision, the ruling hasn't attained finality yet. Meantime, here are some of the explanations of the senators saying yes to archive the complaints.
Fidelity to the Constitution, Mr. President, must prevail even when it is unpopular, inconvenient, or misunderstood.
Had we decided to ignore the Supreme Court ruling and proceeded with the impeachment trial, we risk undermining the judiciary's role as the final arbiter of constitutional issues.
For opposition figures, voting against the archiving does not mean disrespecting the SC. The decision also stands in the way of holding public officials accountable.
Wala sa hanay ng mga senador na bumoto ng no ang nagsasabi na hindi dapat respetuhin ang pasya ng Korte Suprema. Hintayin lang ang final decision.
It is our institution which, in the words of colleagues, killed the articles of impeachment. People must have the power to make the highest rulers accountable.
You're watching Money Talks. Coming right up, the country's second quarter GDP is out today. In fact, in the next hour, economist Robert Dan Roses shares his insights. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Going after illegal online gambling sites is a stamina game, but the government is getting quicker in taking them down. That's according to the Secretary of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. DICT Chief Henry Aguda says a total ban on e-gambling pushes operators into the underground. Aguda adds that legal operators overseen by PAGCOR are a healthy source of revenues. Law enforcement agencies are doing the heavy lifting in going after illegal sites and online recruiters.
Anything that you ban, absolutely, is a haven for going underground. So the yields actually comes from the online illegal gambling because they have no guidelines. So that's where we're aggressively going after. We work closely with PAGCOR, and their takedown rate for illegal online gambling is very fast. So I think we've sent around 100 illegal gambling website, and we're getting faster because now we're creating a threat monitoring system that focuses on illegal online gambling. The legal one that's regulated, and it contributes to a lot of the government's expenditure, especially in the social side of things. There's a lot of people who depend on the money that comes from PAGCOR and PCSO.
Catch my interview with the ICT Secretary Henry Aguda on Thought Leaders tonight, 9:30 p.m., only here on One News. The Philippine Statistics Authority has revised several sectoral figures for the first quarter while keeping the overall GDP growth unchanged at 5.4%. In its latest report, the PSA revised the gross national income downward to 7.2% from 7.5%, while net primary income from the rest of the world lowered to 22% from 24.6%. It also reported lower growth in utilities, finance, and ICT, but upgrades in manufacturing, real estate, and business services. On the demand side, exports, imports, and capital formation all revised upward, while consumer and government spending were unchanged. These revisions come ahead of the second quarter GDP data out in the next hour, in fact, in the next 8 minutes. The country's agricultural output rose by 5.7% in the second quarter, the fastest growth since 2017, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. At constant 2018 prices, the value of production in fisheries and agriculture reached over 437 billion, up from 2% in the first quarter and a reversal of the 3.2% decline a year earlier. The PSA attributed the growth mainly to improved crop output, which rose by 11%, led by palay and corn. While crops and poultry posted growth, livestock and fisheries saw a decline. For the first half of the year, total farm output grew 3.8%, reversing last year's 1.5%. And a quick check on the Philippine markets. PSEI opening this Thursday higher by about 0.25% to 6,386. The local bourse sustained its gains yesterday, Wednesday, ahead of today's second quarter GDP release, closing the session higher by over 0.25%. The broader all-shares index also advanced by 0.25%. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today stronger, 57.33 to the dollar. Peso closed yesterday stronger at 57.475 against the greenback. As for the 10-year government bond yields, they've ticked down to 6.083% from the previous close of 6.139%. And with us now for more is Robert Dan Roses, Group Economist at SM Investments Corp. Good to have you back, Dan. Welcome to the program. All right, I can't quite hear you, Dan, but what are you expecting for second quarter GDP? It's just out in about 5 minutes. You're still on mute, Dan. Okay, we'll try to fix that, Dan.
There.
Oh, there you are. All right.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So you were asking about the GDP.
Yes, it's out in 5 minutes.
Right. We are expecting 5.6%. That's a conservative figure. It could probably be closer to 6% given the surprise figure that was released yesterday from from the agriculture sector. No, so that was quite a surprise. It's actually a very good number. That rebound likely benefited from better conditions in terms of the output. No? So that could probably jack up the numbers a bit.
Okay,
So
but how
probably there. Yeah.
sustainable though, Dan? I mean, we've just had the suspension in rice imports, and George Barcelona,
Right.
PCCI, has expressed his concerns that it could mean higher prices on the retail side.
Well, that's true. No, that's a risk that we have to recognize. But I think the strategic pause in the import ensures market balance while maintaining food security. So it's synchronized with the peak harvest season that actually comes around September to October. Rice inventory is at a 4-year high as of July 1. Also, we're at 2.815 million metric tons, if I'm not mistaken. That's well above our 35,000 metric ton daily requirement. So local rice prices are already price competitive with imports. So that suspension should be able to create the market space for farmers. So, but like what George said earlier, no, that success will hinge on the productivity of the agriculture side. No? And so, we got hit by typhoons recently. We might get hit soon again. Hopefully not as destructive. No, but I think that temporary measure with built-in flexibility as well, and based on market conditions. And I think the president actually listens to Mano when you tell him, that the market conditions are perfect now. So I think that flexibility is built in already with that
What about the
suspension
plan
order.
for 35% tariffs, and coming back to that on rice imports? Is that something that will be welcomed by the markets or not?
Like I said, that's actually that's inflationary. There's no other way around it. So markets will probably be, they'll be very responsive to it. No? But like I said, that tariff coming in will probably be more on synchronizing, giving market space for our farmers as well. So that's could be it could be just a temporary measure as well.
Okay, we get no space when we talk about the semiconductor and electronics sector because Trump is planning 100% tariffs on chip imports. What impact then would it have on trade?
Okay, electronics sector, that's 60% of exports to the U.S. With that new order from Trump, that sector will face margin compression. No? So that's on top of the 19% that's already going to hit the textile and garment industry, which are already operating on thin margins. No? So we could see some downsizing there, if at all. And then food processing exports may also lose competitiveness. So these are on top of that 100% tariff on the electronic side. So that risks peso weakening as well if export revenues decline significantly. So what George mentioned earlier, we should be able to look for regional partnerships on top of what we have already with the U.S. So the order of the day actually is transition support for affected sectors. We have to be able to fast track a pivot to ASEAN markets where we might have some competitive advantages, given the reality of the volatility in terms of the tariffs.
All right, we'll leave it there then. Thank you so much for your views. Dan Roses of SM Investments Corp. And before we go, meet Hollywood's newest leading man who is proudly Pinoy. Filipino-Canadian actor Manny Jacinto is in the country to promote his upcoming Disney film, Freaky Friday, where he stars alongside Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. Born in the Philippines, Jacinto moved to Canada, studied engineering, and started out as a dancer before landing in Hollywood. He says Freakier Friday is a chance for him to showcase his talents. In an interview with News 5's MJ Marfori, he shared how a classic Filipino trait helped him get to where he is today.
Kung merong Filipino trait that you think you brought in with you when you're now in Hollywood, now that you're in Hollywood, what is it?
My my mom would always say, ang tigas ng ulo.
Pasaway ka.
Yeah.
Bakit?
I think it was like, I would translate that into stubbornness.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I think that kind of helped me with my career.
Freakier to be pasawayan when you're Pinoy. That is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here on One News. Have a great day ahead.